Welcome back. So, interesting video topic here today, and I was planning on doing this at the beginning of the week. Wasn't really sure if I was going to be able to get these numbers in time to put a video together before the races started, but we do have the odds to win the first ever, the first World of Outlaws race of the year, but the first time ever that there is betting on sprint car racing, and we have the odds on the board as well as I guess you could call it a prop bet for drivers, a certain amount of drivers to finish above and below a position on the racetrack. So a lot of people aren't going to like this video, probably not going to get a ton of views, but I do think this is a very interesting topic with all of the talk going around about, different, the betting and stuff like that with High Limit and the World of Outlaws. I figured that this is definitely something to talk about. Now, what I have on the board here are the odds from DraftKings Sportsbook for the top five odds, for the top five drivers with the best odds to win, and what they have as the bottom five drivers to win as far as their odds go, which are going to get a couple of chuckles out of the people probably watching this video here if you have not seen them quite yet. And then over here, so this is from DraftKings, and you can only bet on this if you live in Oregon, Connecticut, or Ontario, Canada. So if you're in any of those three areas, you are able to bet on the races. If you're not, well, then you can maybe use Underdog, which is going to be this one over here. I'll talk more about that in just a moment. But over here, we've got the DraftKings Sportsbook odds. And as you can imagine, at the top of the odds is going to be Kyle Larson in the 57. His odds are plus 175 to win. And if you put a $10 bet on that, it pays $27.50 total. Basically a $17.50 profit, or whatever you want to say. Next on the board is David Gravel. I thought Gravel was going to be at the top of this list, but I feel like just because, I don't know who makes the odds, but I'm guessing because of his name, and they've probably seen him on the NASCAR odds or whatever. Whoever's will you stop? I've got a cat down here. I locked the cat in the room on accident. But I'm guessing whoever made the odds knew Kyle Larson's name. They know he wins a NASCAR all the time. So he's probably got to be the guy they put at the top of the list, right? They don't realize that David Gravel, clearly they know he's good, but I feel like he's got a better chance to win than Kyle Larson. I don't know, maybe that's just me. But Gravel is at plus 350, so a $10 bet. As soon as I saw the cat was in here, I knew we were going to have problems. She started rubbing up against the tripod. Okay, anyway, like we were saying, Gravel plus 350, he pays $45 to win. Also, Carson Macedo is on the board at plus 550 for him. A $10 bet would net you $65. And then Brad Sweet is at number 4. And I thought it was hilarious when NXT Bets put out the picture today of the odds. They had all the drivers' faces on the graphic, and the only one that had a World of Outlaws hat on was Brad Sweet. I thought that was absolutely incredible. He is plus 600 to win, which would pay $70 if he was able to get the win and you put $10 on him. And then Donnie Schatz at plus 2,000. So some pretty good value there for Donnie Schatz. If you put 10 on him, it's a $210 win there. And then at the very bottom, so there's a lot of drivers in between Donnie Schatz and Brian Brown that are at different, numbers. But I wanted to put the bottom 5 guys on here as well, just to kind of give you an idea as to what, what everybody else is looking like. So at the very bottom, the lowest odds there are plus 15,000. And there's a bunch of drivers at plus 15,000. Including Brian Brown. If you do put $10 on any of these drivers, it is a $1,500 win. And honestly, there's a couple of really good cars at plus 15,000. I could not get them all on the board, but just to give you an idea, Zach Hampton and Brian Brown have the same odds to win at Volusia Speedway Park tonight. It's just, I don't know. It's going to get fixed as, they get more data and things like that going on here, but Zach Hampton should not have the same odds as Anthony Macri. So Macri's also on the board there at plus 15,000. Bill Baylog at plus 15,000. Chris Windham and Christopher Bell at plus 15,000. I understand that he has not raced a sprint car in about 2.5 years, but we know he's going to pick it up quickly, and we know he's in an incredible race car. So this could come back to bite the guys at DraftKings Sportsbook for all 6 people in Oregon, Connecticut, and Ontario that are going to be betting on the race tonight. But yeah, Christopher Bell at plus 15,000 is definitely a choice. You would think with the same logic as putting Kyle Larson at 175 because he's a NASCAR driver, I felt like they would do the same thing with Bell, but they definitely did not. Maybe they think it's a different guy named Christopher Bell. I'm not sure. But Bell, if you put $10 on him, which maybe some people will sprinkle a couple of bucks on him at plus 15,000, it would get you $1,500 in profit. Now, over here on this side of the board, we have the Underdog Fantasy app, or whatever you want to call it. This one is available in a lot more places, but the problem with this one is it does not pay nearly as good as these ones over here, and there's only 8 choices. These are the only 8 guys that you can bet on for this app right here, and basically all you're betting on is if, let's just say Carson Macedo here, will Carson Macedo finish higher or lower than 3.5? Meaning that if he finishes in 4th and you bet on worse or lower, then that bet would hit. If he finishes in 3rd or better, then that bet will hit as well. But the problem with this one also is you have to parlay at least 2 of these together for the bet to count. You cannot bet on just one of them. You have to have 2 guys together, and then that bet will be it will be accepted, and you can only put up to $50 on these ones, and you cannot do it multiple times. If you put Donnie Schatz and Carson Macedo together, you cannot do that multiple times at $50. You can only do, if you did Carson Macedo and Buddy Kofoid, then yes. If you did Donnie Schatz and David Gravel together, yes, you can keep doing that, but you cannot have the same 2 drivers multiple times. If you wanted to put Macedo, Schatz, and Kofoid together, that would work as well. But anyway, keeping on going here, Donnie Schatz is at 5.5. So I think that one's pretty good. I think I would go with better on that one, to be honest with you. For Kofoid, 5.5. He was close to winning a race there last year. Donnie Schatz, by the way, won the last race at Volusia. They've got him at 5.5. Kofoid, 5.5. David Gravel at 3.5. That one's a little interesting. Brad Sweet at 4.5. For some reason, they've got Parker Price Miller on here. I don't really know how this was put together, but they just chose a couple of random drivers. You can only pick 8 on Underdog Fantasy, and they got Parker Price Miller and TJ Stutz on there. So I'm not exactly sure who was the guy behind all of this, but it is definitely interesting to look at. PPM at 8.0. So if Parker Price Miller finishes 8th or better, then that bet would hit if you did, choose to go with the lower on him. And then Kyle Larson at 1.5. That seems like one that I would be betting my entire house on. And then the 11 of TJ Stutz at 9.5. That one actually opened yesterday at 8.5, and so many people have bet on it that it's actually backed up to 9.5. And like I said, you can only put $50 on it, but if I was to do this, I would almost do a 3-legger right here between PPM lower, Larson lower, Stutz lower than all of those positions they have on the board right now for fantasy, on Underdog Fantasy. So definitely some interesting things to look at here when it comes to this betting. And as I mentioned, as the season goes along for both the Outlaws and High Limit, I think that these numbers, especially at the very bottom, are going to start getting adjusted. Macri should not be at plus 15,000. There's just absolutely no way. Macri should be somewhere in the, I would say, the 3,000 range, 2,000 range. And there's a couple other guys that are kind of some head scratchers. Like I said, Stutz over here at 9.5, he is plus 3,000 on DraftKings to win this race tonight. Does anybody expect TJ Stutz to win at Volusia? I don't even think he expects to win at Volusia Speedway Park over this week. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see if anybody does. Like, I hope we see a couple of people that bet, like post their stuff on Twitter and see how, if they win or anything like that. And also these underdog ones, there's probably going to be a lot of 8-leg parlays on that one. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on this. What do you think about the odds, especially the DraftKings side of things? The odds are different on nxtbets.com, but the DraftKings one is probably the one that most people are going to be using just because it's so well known. But NXT Bets does have some different numbers, some different odds. Like Tyler Courtney, he was like plus 4,000, and TJ Stutz was ahead of him at like plus 3,000. Like they were expecting TJ Stutz to win before Tyler Courtney, even though Tyler Courtney won a race at Volusia last year. So they definitely have some work to do. They might lose some money tonight if Christopher Bell decides to go win a race at Volusia. But we will wait and see how it all goes. Now, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Are you able to bet? Anybody in Oregon, Ontario, or Connecticut? Please let us know in the comment section below if you do plan on betting on this tonight. And a lot more people will be able to do this right here, Underdog Fantasy. Let me know if you will be doing that as well. It's not legal in Ohio, unfortunately, so I cannot partake in either of these things. So we'll just see if anybody else does in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching. Also wanted to say another quick thank you to everybody for 5,000 subscribers. If you would like to buy a t-shirt, check below the video. There should be a link to the bonfire.com store. Do appreciate everybody's support, and we'll talk to you guys again here soon.